Let's Talk Small Business, the real talk, no BS podcast for business owners and entrepreneurs who want to grow and actually enjoy the ride. I'm Mitchell Wilson. Let's get into it. Adam, love, welcome to the podcast. Together with your business partner and wife, Tracy, he's established Smart Move Residential, which is one of the most rapidly growing real estate and property management companies down south in New Zealand. He's a father. He's a husband. He is a business owner. Adam, let's talk small business. Welcome.
Thanks, Mitchell. I don't know what to say after an intro like that. You've done your research, at least. I love it. Thank you.
A little bit of research. So, in talking about this research, I would really love to hear about your career. Okay? So, you're a business owner now, but you don't leave school as a business owner. Some people do. What's your career been to date?
Well, it actually took me a long time to find my niche in what I wanted to do. Wasn't one of these people that grew up, I'm going to be an airline pilot or I'm going to be a doctor or anything like that. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I left school, and it took a long time. So I went through retail jobs. I ended up working in warehouses, packing up boxes to send out, and I always found that when I worked for these businesses, I'd end up with more responsibility coming on me because I must have done the job pretty well, and and they saw opportunity or potential and poured that on. So and that kind of got me into sales, because normally when you work for a small business and you sort of stick your head up above the edge of the parapet, shall we say, they want to put you into the money-making roles. And so that got me into sales. And I was always a naturally shy person. And people who know me don't believe that, but I'm quite an introvert. I get my energy from being alone. And so stepping into sales with that felt unnatural, but in the same way, it was a real cool challenge to get into. And so my first sales role was selling toys, and I mean like rubber chickens and joke stuff and licensed stationery, so like Mickey Mouse lunchboxes and stuff like that.
So who were you selling to with these?
Two shops. So we were wholesaling to retailers.
Yeah.
So I'd drive around with a bootload of rubber chickens.
Oh, we should name the podcast today "Rubber Chickens to Real Estate."
Yeah, and so that was it. I mean, I took it very seriously, and I did very well, and that taught me a whole bunch of lessons about relationships, because you could walk into a shop that you were in there last month, and you might have convinced them to take a particular line of something, and you got to go face the music if it didn't sell, and or didn't perform the way you said it would. And a lot of small shop owners are one-man bands, so you're dealing with ma and pa that own the shop, and it's their livelihood, and so you're kind of making a real difference in them. So I learned a lot about compassion for the other side, and that. So not about just me. I just want to write as much business as I can, but actually I want this to be long term. I want to be able to walk into his shop in 12 months' time, and he's happy to see me. Not, oh, here comes that guy again. So that was something that I learned early on, and then I went through just other sales sort of positions in other companies. Again, trying to find where I fit, really. I've always had a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit, so I've always had a bit of a side gig going, and for a number of years I ran a company just on the side that duplicated CDs and DVDs for, somebody might want to put out 100 DVDs or CDs of a product catalogue or an emerging band or something like that, and they can't go to the big guys and get 10,000 stamps. So we were doing that, and same deal. These guys have got a dream. These guys have got something they want to try and achieve, and my interaction with them was just a little bit of that pathway. And again, so you're just trying to make whatever they're doing with you as simple and as stress free as possible, and that drives your business. So you get those good vibes and I guess referrals from that as well.
With yourself being a bit of an introvert, and as you said before, and then going into sales, which sometimes people feel is against that. Had you found your calling in sales, or
not in selling itself? So the actual transaction, no, but the ability to see a need, find a problem, and meet it, and solve it, and leave somebody feeling better off at the other end of it, and there's a paycheck in there somewhere as well. That's pretty good. So, just transactionally, I couldn't just do that if it was just I couldn't do internet sales, put it that way. I couldn't just set up a website and watch the orders come in, without knowing, what are these guys buying it for? And it becomes natural, right? So if somebody's buying this product, then maybe they need that product too. And yes, that's good sales, but it's also good service because, or actually you might not have known about that and this solves another problem or solves your problem better, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's always been the mantra.
And I love that because so many people kind of say, like, they think sales is a sleazy or bad word, but realistically, it's to be a good salesperson, you're just finding their needs. And by being good at your job and offering, hey, maybe this may fit you better, that's what you're doing. And it's a win-win, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. And so I was working for a company, this is when I lived in Auckland, and I was working for a company that sold construction equipment. Again, I was selling construction equipment to, drain layers and builders and earthworks people and things like that. And I got involved with property investing. So this is sort of how the journey into property and real estate started, in that we did this course, basically, a training course on safe and effective property investing. And that's the really first time I felt like this was where I'm supposed to be. This is the stuff I'm supposed to be dealing with. Like property made sense. It all clicked.
And what kind of year was that we're talking about? Do you remember?
So that was 2011, maybe. Gotcha. 10, 11, so around that kind of time. So yeah, maybe 15 years ago now. And we did that course and loved it so much and did really well applying what we learned in the course that I actually was asked to come back to that company as a coach.
Oh, wow.
So which was, awesomely validating for me, but also a really cool thing to be able to do now. I've learned some stuff. I've put it into practice. Now I can share it with some other people. And effectively, that's the same thing as the sales, right? It's now I've got a whole bunch of things I can offer somebody else to solve the problem that they're facing at the moment. And that problem might be fear of acting and losing all of their money, for example. So now let's put some safe things in place and identify what your goals are so that you can, in 10 years' time, when you've gone through this investing journey, or 15 or 20 years' time, or whatever it is, you've achieved the goals that you want, and you've done it safely, and you've done it with some method, and you've done it with some, some systems and things in place. So yeah, that's what that was. And then sort of, I don't know, naturally, we decided to move out of the big city and find home in regional New Zealand. And so we moved from Auckland to Invercargill in 2015.
What took you to Invercargill? What was the draw card there?
Well, we'd owned so while I was doing the coaching, we also owned a business, and we were looking to sell that and get into another business, but so we wanted to be in a small town. That was wanted to get out of the big city and get into somewhere where, traffic and house prices and all that kind of stuff were a bit more, user-friendly, shall we say. Yeah. So Invercargill wasn't necessarily the goal, but, we spotted a business here that was for sale and we were doing our due diligence and didn't end up buying it, but in the process came to town, loved the place, found a house we absolutely loved, and the rest is history. And when we sold, so in 2015, when we sold our family home in Auckland and moved to Invercargill, for almost exactly half what we sold the house for, we bought a lifestyle block on 9 acres and, massive house, sheds and all that kind of stuff. So, the exchange rate I talk about between Auckland and Invercargill was massive. And look, it still is these days, but we just, we were, the timing was right there. Kids were young enough that they weren't in school, so all of that kind of, made sense. And it was in such a way that we actually didn't have to work for a little while. We could, live off some of the profit of the house in Auckland to, get ourselves established and find out what we want to do. And then we got approached by somebody, a mutual friend through the property coaching circles, to start up a business down here for him. So start up his office of his agency. And so Tracy started up the property management pretty soon after we got here and grew that to, over 400 properties I'm managing, 5 staff in the office, and, really, really successful business, but not our business. It was somebody else's business. And I kind of entered the business around COVID time as a real estate agent. So I did my license through the lockdown, became licensed, and at that stage, this owner was looking at expanding from property management into real estate sales. So I came on as the local salesperson here, and did really well, considering, one office, one person. So it wasn't like a sales team. We had some online coaching and things like that, but it wasn't that kind of support that you'd normally expect. And then it just became apparent that.
Am I right in saying that in between that you did become the national sales manager for that? So again, when these, I was talking about earlier, when I've forgotten about that, but when you become good at something, people want to put more responsibility on you, right? And they want to, they see the potential in you. So I ended up, exactly, becoming the national sales manager for that agency, with the task of trying to grow it, find new talent, and coach the talent that we had as well, which was exciting. But it took me away from what I really like doing, and that was selling property. And the selling property is somebody's got a problem, and property, two people have a problem. One person's got a house they don't want anymore, and another person has got a need for a house, and so you're matching that on a grand scale. And to be part of somebody's house moving journey is way more valuable than being part of somebody's rubber chicken journey. And there's a whole lot more emotion involved with somebody choosing a house, and choosing to move on. And I always say, and it sounds trite, but I do believe it. I believe that real estate is not about houses; it's about people, because people don't sell houses or buy houses because they want a house. It's what that house represents. So if you're selling a house, it's because there's some freedom coming for it, or it means that you're getting to move your family to a new area, or you're getting to expand, or your family's expanding, or something's happening that's driving that. Could be the opposite as well. Changes.
Correct. Well, there's other changes, exactly, close to the end of life, or unfortunately there's things like marriage splits and that kind of stuff. And so even though that's something coming to an end, it's also something starting again, right? Yeah. And so, I've sold plenty of houses for people that are going through that breakup, and to be able to assist them and take some stress out of that situation, it's pretty special, and I know that I do a pretty good job of that, because I get the thanks at the end of it. Hey, thanks, you actually did take the stress out of that, and I'm sorry we were arguing and all of that. It's like, it's absolutely fine. You've got way bigger things to worry about than actually just a transaction on your house. So let me take care of that, and let me look after you. And that's how that sort of stuff happens. And so, but being the sales manager, getting back to that, I didn't get to do that as much because I was focusing on running this team. And so I decided that that's actually not what I want to do. And at the same time, Tracy was looking for new challenges and that kind of stuff. And this was sort of late 2023, early 2024. We decided to start our own business. It's like, we've got the skills, we've got the track record, we've got the customer base, it's all there, and now we can do this 100% the way we want to do it, and with the values and the ethics and the time input and all of that stuff that we want to do. It's now our baby. It
sounds like you've been an entrepreneur right throughout your life in terms of side businesses, always going forward. So you probably may have answered this, but I always love to ask that question, why? Like, why start your own business? Is it just because of the challenge, or is there something more behind it?
I don't think there's a single answer to that. So I can answer it in a couple of ways. When you're the boss, you can take time off if you want. If you want to go get a haircut, if you want to go and watch your kids play rugby, if you want to go away for the weekend, you can do that, right? You don't have to answer to anyone. As a business owner, you forget that a little bit until somebody else says, I better check with the boss. And it's like, actually, I don't actually have that. So that's cool. So there's the freedom. There's also being the master of your destiny. So, if you're making a decision about, should we be advertising in here, or should we be spending some money on that, or should we be doing business with this person, or any of those kind of things, you're where the buck stops there, right? You are the decision maker in that. And when it goes well, it's like, you can pat yourself on the back. And when it doesn't go well, you suck up the responsibility of it, but I actually enjoy that. I relish that. I relish the fact that, I'm not going to get it right all the time, but at least it was my decision. At least it was, I should say, our decision, of course. Because when you're a little side note here. When you're in business with your wife, you still have a boss. There's no doubt about that. And I'll be remiss not to acknowledge that. But you know what I mean, right? You are where the buck stops. And so it's ultimate responsibility and ultimate accountability sits with you. And that spins my wheels. It really does.
Well, let's actually pick up on that, because there are a number of businesses that are husband-wife driven, or life partner driven sort of thing. How does that work? And I know it's probably different for everyone, but how does it work for you guys? Because obviously you work together. Can you have a disagreement in work and then it separates itself from home, or is it just the whole thing interlinked? How do you handle it? And what's some advice that you could give? Obviously, the first one being maybe you're not the boss, but what is advice that you can give to those that are out there working together?
Really good question, and we get asked it a bit too, because people obviously know that we're a business together. And so for us, the way it works is we understand each other's strengths and our own weaknesses. So if I'm better at something, let's take numbers. I'm a spreadsheet kind of guy. So if it's numbers or spreadsheets, then that sits firmly in my camp. Tracy's more of a details person when it comes to systems and process and things like that. So that sits in her camp and things like that. So it's about knowing each other's strengths, but it's then also about backing each other up too. And the best analogy, I only heard this the other day, but I like it, and I think we apply it already, is that it's a bit like the buddy system when you go diving. When you go diving with somebody, you have a buddy, okay? And that's one person that you are diving with. I'm talking about scuba diving here. Your job is to look after them, make sure they stay alive. And their job is to make sure you stay alive. And so I think without knowing it, we actually apply that in our marriage, because there's times when, I'll have a fantastic day. There'll be, I'll get some wins and I'm on the top of the world. Tracy's had a tough day and, it all feels like it's caving in a bit. And so you've got to work together on that, and it's my time to be her strength. And then there are other days where it's completely the other way around. You come from real estate, you know that it doesn't matter how long you've been in it, it's still a roller coaster. There's no such thing as a normal emotions day in real estate. So she's my strength. Some people say when they're working with their partner, everything stays at the office, and when you go home, you don't talk about it. We can't do that because we love what we do, and so we're talking about it all the time. We'll go off for a coffee in the weekend together, and we'll start talking business, and it's like, oh, well, this is obviously a director's meeting then. And, it's just there's a straight crossover all the time, But it's because we love what we do, and we love who we do it with. And then if you're passionate about it and it's something that you enjoy, why would you stop talking about it? Why would you want to turn it off?
Yeah. Hey, look, I really hear what you're saying, and I'm sure Tracy will listen to this, and she'll listen with a smile on her face with your answer there, I'm pretty sure.
Cool. Appreciate that.
I want to bring up, the other day we were having a beer and asked what you've been up to, and you'd actually just purchased one of the largest Lego sets you can buy, a big Titanic. And I'm kind of thinking, oh my gosh, where is that going to even fit?
Yeah.
Hey, it's one of those things. My son builds Lego. I'd probably love to do it, but I don't know. I don't treat myself as much as I should. So I really want to talk about celebrating small things. Yeah. The reason why I want to talk about it is so many people I speak to, they're on the grind. They're doing it. And they kind of forget that the prize isn't necessarily at the end of the day when you sell that business or whatever the case. Because I've been in that situation where, hey, look, sold a great business, $1 million in the bank, and you go, wow. But then it's just the next day. So celebrating those wins along the way is so important, even the small ones, each and every single day or week.
Yeah.
How do you go about that? Do you think you celebrate the small wins? How do you work it?
Used to do it really well, and I think it's probably good to revisit this. So we used to do it almost like I was going to say menu based. Like if we got a new sign up for the property management, then that might be a nice bottle of wine. Yep. And if we got a house sale, that might be a dinner out or something like that. So we kind of almost had this win with this reward, and we've stopped doing that a little bit. But what we do is if we've had a big week, and it's like, man, we reflect on the week and like we've done some good stuff this week, then absolutely we say, right, we deserve something, we deserve this. And so that Lego that you're talking about, that came after a big month, and both of us had a big month, and we happened to be on holiday, and there was a Lego store there, and I'm a bit of a sucker for it, so I wandered in there, and Tracy just whispered, like, you've earned it, go get it. What I didn't realise is that she'd already been to the jewellery store next door, and this was just her earning the right to go to the jewellery store. But But she'd earned it too, right? And so that's what it was. And so what it meant is we then sat back and thought, actually, we have, and we've got the funds in the bank from a successful number of weeks of work. Can't take it with you. So, absolutely, let's enjoy this. And so you're right, this thing sits on a windowsill. We've got a big bay window in our home, and it sits on that windowsill. And I look at it and think, I remember that. I remember why I have it and what it meant and the purpose of buying it. Yeah.
I do remember, actually, I can't remember who it was, but there was an agent, and every time they sold a house, they'd buy themselves a new tie, because they love ties. So it was like, okay, I need to try and start doing that. And I did start trying to buy the ties, but I'm like, I've got too many ties.
When was the last time you wore a tie? Like, it was probably a funeral, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I got to feel like I'm probably guilty of myself of not celebrating those small things. But it is something that is really important. And whether you're in business or not business, it just makes life better.
Yeah, but you can take that to the small daily stuff too. Like if you've got a particular part of your job you don't enjoy, and let's say it's making cold calls, for example, and you could say, right, well, I feel like a coffee. Actually, well, I'm not going to have a coffee until I've made my 20 cold calls, and that's a reward, for want of a better word, of getting through that. And if you come, then it becomes natural that are willing to go through a bit of pain to get a bit of reward. And the pain sort of lessens a little bit when you know there's something good at the end of it.
Well, let's talk about that pain for a second. Has there ever been a time in business, where things have just not worked out, and how'd you deal with it?
Yeah, it's a good question. And 100% there is. And I don't think, first of all, you can't predict it. You sort of think, you looked at the last few months or the last 6 or 8 months, and it's things are going well. You can see the right trajectory, and you can see the numbers going in the right direction, and the pipeline's full, and all that kind of stuff. So you think, we're onto it. And then it can take, a few things heading in the direction you didn't expect. You might have lost a deal, or in real estate, you might have found that there's a house that's got a massive problem that wasn't disclosed or wasn't evident when you first signed it up, and now you've got to deal with this, and it's not going to sell the way you thought it was, and you're not going to be able to help that client the way you thought you could. And so that kind of blindsides you, right? But you have to, there's a good saying, you say you let those things ruin your 5 minutes, but not your day. So, it's okay to get frustrated and have a few choice words to say about it, but don't let it ruin your whole day. And then search for the things that have gone well, because when things go bad, it's not everything going bad, right? Because if everything went bad, you'd be 6 foot under, and you're not. So there's some good things to look for. So I guess what I'm saying in short words is be grateful for the good things, and then suddenly the things that aren't going so well won't be so massive, won't be so all consuming. And the next day, there's another day. There's another day that comes, and you'll get out of bed, and you get your attitude back on track, and get your mojo back, and you'll realise that actually that was, we can deal with that. We can get through this. I've been through worse.
Yeah. Talking about getting past things like really quick, I do remember an agent, and they had not just lost one deal that day. It had been 6 deals for whatever reason fell over. Stood up from his desk, walked straight over to the liquor store, bought himself a 6-pack, and just left and didn't go back. That's fair enough. But get up the next day.
What did he do the next day? Did he just wake up and go back to the liquor store? No, he went back and got the mojo going again. And it's like, well, the good news about that, about doing that, it's not going to happen the second day, right? Yeah. There's no way it's going to happen the second day.
Can't get worse.
So you're guaranteed a better day the next day. So,
Okay. Now, we've kind of touched on this in the past, but one of the benefits of being a business owner, as you mentioned before, is you can take time off when you want it. Okay. Yeah. But also, I actually think I was speaking to a business owner yesterday, and they were organising a fair. Okay. Not a school fair, it was a town fair sort of thing. But it took someone in their position to be able to have the time, space, and energy to be able to do that. Otherwise, these things wouldn't run. Okay, if they had a regular job, no way they could have done it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about giving back, because I know you it's close to your heart, and you've done a bit of that even just recently.
Yeah.
Tell us about
So what you're talking about there is in June, I took a couple of weeks off, which, again, being the boss, I can choose to do that. But instead of going on holiday, I went with a group of people, went to the Philippines to work with people sort of below the poverty line there and helping as basic as delivering food and shelter to people there that didn't have any. And it's an initiative that there's a organisation here in town that does that through the church, and I went along with them to help out where I could, do what I can. Mm-hmm. And you're right, being in a position where I've got the freedom to take the time off, I've got the means to support myself without working for those 2 weeks, and I've got also the means to inject into the charity that's doing the work there as well. So actually, giving back. And I've always believed that if you see a need and you can help, then you should. And that doesn't have to be a big thing, but you'll know when you're called or you feel called to do something like that. And so, that was something that was very, very important to me to go and do this. It was hard, not physically, but actually emotionally, to see the circumstances and situations that some people in this world have to live in. Mm-hmm. And you can't fix it all because, the need is massive, but you can make a difference for some people. And that was really, really important, and that was really valuable for me to be able to do that.
Would you do it again?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. We're looking at doing exactly the same thing, same city, same charity, sometime next year. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. So thank you for doing stuff like that. That's awesome. Okay. Well, let's talk about business today. Smart Move Residential. Mm-hmm. You built this business with Tracy. Property management, real estate sales. Mm-hmm. What's the future hold? What are the goals?
Yeah, we're not all that good at setting fixed goals, and it's something we have to work on, and we will. But I guess long term, everybody knows that you can't rely on the government to provide for your retirement. And even KiwiSaver is amazing. It's a really good initiative, but it's not enough. If you want to have any kind of freedom and enjoyment in your retirement, you need to fund it somehow. And so a lot of people do that through property. So that's why people invest in property. Some people do it through the share market, and some people do it through business. Mm-hmm. And I guess what we've done is we've kind of melded the business and property together because it's two things we understand and we get and enjoy. So yes, I guess we're building something that will have some value in the future for our retirement, and eventually we'll sell it. But at the moment, our goal is just to continue to grow naturally and through good service and good referrals, because we're doing what people need us to do.
Cool. Love it. What do you think about growth then? Because you mentioned growth.
Yeah.
Hire more, work more, systemize more.
Yeah, not work more, no. Eventually that will be, if you're doing the stuff that you really love, then it's less work, right? It's more, I'm just doing what I want to do. And if that's, if you get to create the role that is doing that, then you've won. You kind of won at life, haven't you? That you're doing the stuff that you want to do, and you get to do that every day because you don't have to go and, do something you hate to earn money. And there's plenty of people out there that do that, and they do it for really good reasons. And I salute them that they still would rather do something they hate to be in a position or to get themselves to a better position than not doing it. And good on you. And I've been there myself. But now it's about creating a role and creating something in the future that is 100% what I want to do, and that'll involve hiring more, because I want people to do the stuff that I don't enjoy, but they do because they're good at it. And then, just bringing on more people that we can then push that service out and push that ethos of solving problems and finding solutions. Yeah.
Cool. Now, you just talked about it before. I guess I would describe it as hustle culture. So, just getting up, doing the work. What's your take on hustle culture? And part two is, how do you handle self-doubt or burnout?
Wow. Second one's a biggie. Hustle culture, I think we're living in a time now where we've never had the tools that we've got now to have a side hustle. And so many people I know and so many people you just talk to are doing something from home or something online or something to supplement the income. And some of that's out of necessity, just to actually, make the ends meet.
Yep.
But a lot of it's out of just opportunity, or I've got a skill, or I've got a passion, or I've got a hobby. If I can monetize that in a certain way, then that makes sense. Let's do it. So I think that's really where that hustle culture is kind of grown out of. And having a side gig's good because it teaches you, even if just the basics of business, looking after customers, sourcing product, pricing, all that kind of stuff. They're the real basics. Self-doubt and burnout, they're toughies, and they're real. They are really, really real. And I guess we hinted at it before with our mate with 6 deals that fell over. You'd start to doubt yourself. You'd start to say, I'm the common denominator here in those 6 deals. What am I not doing right? What have I, is it me? What have I done? So you have to step out of that. You have to not look at it as a problem that you're the problem. You have to look and find the reasons, and the solution will be external to that. And what I mean, and that sounds a bit airy-fairy, but what I mean is that if you looked at those 6 deals, using that as an example, there'll be a very real reason why each of those fell over. He just happened to be connected to all of them, but he wouldn't have been the reason. But that day would have been really, really hard to see that. But that's what I'm talking about. Get up the next day, and if you have to analyse, if you're an analyser, go through it, but analyse it in from an objective viewpoint. And as far as burnout goes, you just have to identify that early. You can't.
Have you ever burnt out yourself?
No, because I think I do identify early, and if I feel like I'm getting overwhelmed or things aren't gelling or whatever, I'll just step away, even if it's just for an afternoon, and
Good on you.
Go and do something like chop some firewood, or I don't know, go to the beach or something like that. Just something that will recharge me, and so part of that's knowing how to recharge yourself, because not everyone's the same. But the other part of it is identifying it before it happens, like as it's happening at the beginning of the slide, not the end of the slide. We're getting to the mental health arena here, and far easier to talk about that now than it was 10 years ago. If you're in any kind of business where you don't have a lot of people around you, and let's face it, for most people, business ownership is lonely, then the only person you end up talking to is yourself. Most people's self-talk is not that healthy. So, you add all that up, what's going to happen?
Because, I do find a lot, even business owners that may have a large team behind them, they could have, 5, 10, 50 employees, but they're still alone at the top.
Well, that's right. Well, if you're running a team of salespeople or a team of, in the business, you don't go to them and say, I'm having a hard day today, what can you suggest? I mean, that stuff needs to flow up. And if you're at the top, where does it flow to? So, and you probably already had that conversation, received that conversation from 1 or 2 people that week anyway. And so you've coached them through, however you do that, whether that's toughen up, man, or your however you deal with that. But you've already taken on a bit of their self-doubt. So where do you pass that on to? So, yeah, absolutely.
One of the toughest conversations I ever had, one employee was going through thinking about abortion. Okay, pros or cons, I haven't got an opinion on it, but that's what their issues were. But when I had that conversation, personally, we were going through fertility treatment issues. Yeah. And you need to put that aside and be there. And then, it was tough. It was tough.
Yeah.
What do you think's been the biggest mind shift or mindset as a business owner compared to an employee? Can you think of...
So I thought when I was an employee, I thought that I worked like I owned the business. I always thought I had that ethos, that kind of, because that's what a good employee does, right? They work like they own the business. They're thinking about the business's bottom line, all that kind of stuff.
That's why you always got promoted.
Probably, maybe I just walked around the office saying that, and that was what. But I tell you what, when you do own the business, you suddenly realise that you had no idea what it was like to work like you own the business until you actually do.
Mm.
And that's the stress of, very simply, example, it's Tuesday, it's wages day. We haven't had a sale or whatever it is for X amount of time, but we've got people that are relying on paying their mortgages from their wages. And so, that you don't think about that as an employee, ever. You'd never think about that. You don't think about it. It's the 20th of the month. It's like, okay, there's a whole bunch of money coming out of our account today. You don't think about that as an employee.
Mm.
You don't think about it when you get a phone call. Maybe there's a IRD want to know some information or something like that. All these kind of things that, you just, as an employee, you'd never see it. So, once you become sitting in that seat, you realise that there is nowhere else to pass that stuff to. There is nowhere. First of all, there's a whole lot more stuff that's going to come across your desk that you weren't even aware of. And second of all, you can't just pass it on to someone else's desk. It's on your desk to be dealt with.
Mm.
Yeah.
Obviously, things change in lives and the rest. I'd really love to know, at this point in your life, how would you define success? And maybe even how has that changed?
Yeah. I'm going to try and answer this without sounding cheesy, because my answer is cheesy, but only because it's hard to believe. But my answer to that is, I want to make sure that I leave people feeling better or in a better position than when I met them. And so what I mean by that is that if I'm going to do an appraisal on a house, and in fact, I just did one this morning, an appraisal on a rental property, and so the tenant's obviously now in a position of what is going on. So is my house, my place that I rent, is that going to be sold? I'm panicking. So the first thing I'm doing when I'm going in there is to make that person feel as comfortable and as reassured as I possibly can. Like, I can't predict the future. I don't know what's going to happen, but I want to let them know that they're not going to go through this alone, and that I'm going to be as respectful and helpful as I can through that. If I manage to walk out of there and she is feeling better than when she received the phone call to say some agent's coming through to appraise the house, that's success. That I've succeeded in that. And then if I go back to the owner and I give them the appraisal and whatever the figure is, whether they like that or not, or whether it's going to work for them or not, if I've managed to give them some advice and some information that helps them make the decision for their next step, whatever their next thing needs to be, and if I can help them find clarity in what they're attempting to do for the reason that they've engaged me in the first place, then that's success. And so I've actually helped 2 people in that process. If it comes to the market and we end up selling it to somebody who sees an opportunity, whether it's a house that needs some work or it's a beautiful house and they can move in and do nothing to it, but it means that their family moves into a new phase, and whether it's first home ownership or whether it's suddenly the kids don't have to share a bedroom, or whether it's dad gets a garage for the first time, or whatever that is, and they love doing that, then that's success. All of that work and that success will generate an income. But the income wasn't the success. The helping people and the getting people to where they want to get to is the success. And so I sum that up, and this is the bit that sounds cheesy, is that if you look after the people, the money will follow. And I firmly believe that. I firmly believe that. You can't take that to the bank, because the bank manager's not going to lend on a phrase like that, but you can take it to sleep at night. You can take it to look at yourself in the mirror and know that you're actually making a difference. Mm-hmm. And you can tell all of your customers that that's what you believe.
Yep.
And there's power in that. But you have to believe it, and it has to resonate true with you. And I know that when I start yes, I'm a competitive person. Yes, I like to win at sales and, win the deal and all that kind of stuff. But when I start focusing on how much, if I get this listing, it'll be X amount of, that's the income I'm going to get off it, and I forget about the people in it, that's where I start to become a version of myself that I'm not quite so proud of.
Yeah. Well, look, that resonates with me because I just believe, I just do the job and the money comes in whatever way. And, I try and treat everyone the same, whether it's a client that could be up here or down below.
Yep.
I agree. Yeah. Do the job, the rest will take care of itself.
It all falls into place.
Adam, I have learnt so much today. A big shout out to Tracy, of course. I've loved learning from you. We have talked rubber chickens to real estate. This was Let's Talk Small Business. Adam, I thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been cool. Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's Talk Small Business. I appreciate you tuning in. If you got value, hit subscribe, like, or drop a comment. It spreads the word and might just help another legend get their breakthrough.